Hello, and welcome to today's deep dive into the Book of Ezekiel, a book filled with awe-inspiring visions, sobering prophecies, and profound promises of restoration. Ezekiel was a prophet called to speak to the exiles in Babylon, a people who had lost their land, their temple, and their hope. Through his life and message, we see the holiness of God, the consequences of sin, and the hope of redemption. Over the next hour, we'll explore the key themes, moral lessons, and timeless takeaways from this incredible book. Let's begin. The book opens with Ezekiel's extraordinary calling. While by the Kebar River in Babylon, Ezekiel sees a vision of God's glory, a whirlwind, for living creatures with faces of a man, lion, ox, and eagle, and wheels within wheels, full of eyes. Overwhelmed, Ezekiel falls face down, but God tells him, "Son of man, stand on your feet, and I will speak to you." Ezekiel 2 verse 1. God commissions Ezekiel as a watchman for Israel, warning him that the people are rebellious and hard-hearted. Yet, God equips Ezekiel with a scroll of lamentations, which he is to eat, symbolizing the internalization of God's message. Key takeaway. Like Ezekiel, we are called to be watchmen, sharing God's truth even when it's difficult. Our responsibility is to be faithful, the results are in God's hands. Ezekiel's early messages focus on God's judgment against Judah and Jerusalem for their idolatry, injustice, and rebellion. He uses dramatic object lessons to convey God's message. For example, he lies on his side for 390 days to symbolize the years of Israel's sin and bakes bread over dung to represent the siege of Jerusalem, Ezekiel 4. In Ezekiel 8, Ezekiel is taken in a vision to Jerusalem, where he sees the shocking idolatry happening in the temple, idols, pagan worship, and even weeping for Tammuz. God's glory, which once filled the temple, begins to depart, Ezekiel 10 verse 18. Moral lesson. Sin has consequences. God's holiness cannot coexist with rebellion. Ezekiel's visions remind us to examine our lives and remove anything that dishonors God. Ezekiel also pronounces judgment on the surrounding nations, Ammon, Moab, Edom, Philistia, Tyre, Sidon, and Egypt. These nations had rejoiced over Judah's downfall and acted with pride and cruelty. For example, God says to Tyre, "Because your heart is proud, and you have said, 'I am a god,' therefore, behold, I will bring foreigners upon you." Ezekiel 28 verses 2 and 7. Key takeaway. Pride and cruelty always lead to downfall. God is sovereign over all nations, and he will hold everyone accountable for their actions. After the fall of Jerusalem, Ezekiel's message shifts to hope and restoration. In Ezekiel 33, God appoints Ezekiel as a watchman to warn the people. Then, in Ezekiel 37, we see the famous vision of the valley of dry bones. God asks Ezekiel, "Can these bones live?" Ezekiel 37 verse 3. As Ezekiel prophesies, the bones come together, and breath enters them, symbolizing Israel's restoration. God also promises to reunite Israel and Judah, give them a new heart, and put his spirit within them. Ezekiel 36 verses 26 to 27. Moral lesson. No situation is too hopeless for God. He can bring life to what seems dead and restore what seems broken. This vision points to the ultimate restoration through Jesus Christ. The book concludes with a detailed vision of a new temple. Ezekiel is shown the measurements, the design, and even the river flowing from the temple, bringing life wherever it goes. Ezekiel 47 verses 1 to 12. This vision symbolizes God's presence returning to his people and the perfect order of his future kingdom. Key takeaway. God's ultimate plan is to dwell with his people in perfect harmony. This vision points forward to the New Jerusalem in Revelation, where God will reign forever. So, what does the book of Ezekiel mean for us today? 1. God's holiness. Ezekiel reminds us that God is holy and deserves our reverence and obedience. 2. Responsibility. Like Ezekiel, we are called to be watchmen, sharing God's truth with the world. 3. Hope. No matter how dire our circumstances, God can bring restoration and new life. 4. Future glory. Ezekiel's visions point us to the ultimate hope of God's eternal kingdom. The book of Ezekiel is a powerful reminder of God's holiness, justice, and faithfulness. It challenges us to live lives that honor him and gives us hope for the future. Let's take these lessons to heart and live as faithful watchmen in our generation. If you've been blessed by this video, please like, share, and subscribe for more biblical teachings. And remember, no matter where you are in life, God's plans for you are filled with hope and purpose. Until next time, God bless you.